The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It's where we all begin. Welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters.
On the magic school bus with Miss Frizzle, kids can have all kinds of fun adventures learning about science and technology, like this Erika 105. It's great, especially the reboot.
Howdy folks, thanks for joining us again. As Kevin mentioned in his introduction, we've got a typewriter here that could be confused with Mrs. Frizzle's magic school bus, or a checker cab, whichever one is appropriate for your age range. But for us, Mrs. Frizzle and the magic school bus is right on target. So we see a really pretty, very bright, it's actually orange. It shows up a little bit yellow in the viewfinder, but it's an orange typewriter. And what is it? It is an Erika, branded as a Daro, an Erika Daro 105. This is an East German machine, a high-quality East German machine that was part of the entire mixture of machines that came out of East Germany, which is to say, they started out as their original brand names, Seidel and Naumann, and were later rolled in after the collapse of Germany in World War II into a VEB Dresden, which was a People's Workshop Production Factory, as a rough translation, for Dresden in 1949. And then 20 years later, they consolidated all East German typewriter production into something called Zentronic. And then 10 years later, they decided to rebrand themselves yet again as Robotron, way before the video game came out, but not too much before. And they continued on as Robotron until the very end, which was in 1991, which was right before and as Germany reunified. So it kind of encapsulates the entire history of East Germany. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit of information to know. All right, so let's learn some information about this typewriter. So it's an Erika 105. It was made in 1978, and one of the telltales for that is it has the Daro branding. There is a blog called X Over It, and it is a fantastic resource we'll link to. It really gives us the whole history of East German typewriters, in particular Erika East German typewriters. And apparently, Daro was a brand associated with Zentronic. We're not sure exactly how or why or what it means, but it was. So, in a nutshell, there's a lot of, to me at least, very interesting industrial history dovetailing in with geopolitical intrigue and drama and the clash of the East versus the West, which is why I particularly like these German machines, these Erika machines, for among other reasons. So, continuing on about the actual typewriter, Kevin's going to help us out a little bit with some of the keyboards, so let's go ahead and zoom in. You will notice right away that this is not a standard American keyboard. So, you've of course got your number one here has a semicolon above it, which is not too standard, and the number 4 has a percentage sign as opposed to a dollar sign. And of course, most obviously, you'll notice that we have a Qt Z keyboard layout, and that is because we purchased this typewriter in Germany and had it imported it over here to the US, and are very happy with it and how it has come out. But one of the other things you may be curious about if you haven't used a Qt Z typewriter, well, where the heck is the 0? Kevin, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but where's the 0?
It's kind of like the number 1 on things that don't really have a number 1. It's the O key.
The O key, that's right. So you use a capital O for 0 to make your 10th digit. So that's kind of fun. And another fun one is, what's this? What's this funky looking B?
Asset.
The Esset, that's right. That's like a double S in German, which they sometimes don't even use that much anymore, but it's one of those neat German characters. And then we have a whole sea of umlauts over the U, the O, the A. But the bottom line is that these, the biggest shift is the Z and the Y being out of place. But if you use these machines for just, more than just casually or once or twice, it's not too difficult to use a Qt Z machine. Just a couple different little quirks, if you will, in the Qt Z. All right. Another thing that's very interesting about this typewriter is it has a tab, which isn't the most interesting thing, but it has 4 colors in the ribbon color selector. We have a blue, a white, a green, and a red. So that's definitely novel from the red, white, and blue that we normally have, so not American. And the way this works is the Germans are very frugal, And they developed a way that the blue would type on the upper portion of the ribbon as we normally have. The white is stencil as normal. But then they gave us an intermediate position called in the green. And that's so you could type kind of halfway in the middle of the ribbon. Now that doesn't work so great if you have a bicolor ribbon like we have here with a red and a black, because you get a mixture of red and black, and it looks a little weird unless you like that. But what it was for is if you have a standard single color ribbon, presumably all black, green, what have you, all red for that matter, if you watch the lives of others, then you can get a lot more use out of your ribbon. And I think Hermes does the same thing. So it just gives you a little more space on the same amount of ribbon so you get more life out of it, which is definitely a clever idea. Okay, just continuing on around, just as our usual rundown, we've got our carriage platen knobs here. Our carriage release lever is here. You just have one. It's a button. So you push and you slide it. And then we have our tension roller lever here, which comes to a paper bale. We have a very nice paper support that pops up. The whole carriage is plastic. Our margins are set with these push slides. And what's kind of funky is that if you want to release the platen into freewheeling mode, you just pull and it pops over, and now we're in freewheeling mode. You can also, and if you reset that by pushing it in, you can also use the lever of the line select lever to put it into freewheeling. So it's just a little bit different. You've got 1, 2, and 3 dots for your line spacing. So 1, 1.5, and 2. You don't really have 3. 3 dots doesn't mean triple space, it means double space. Okay. As we mentioned, this is a 105 model. It's distinguished from the 100 by having a tab. The plus and the minus here, you push up to set a tab, minus to clear a tab. This is your backspace over on the right-hand side, your margin release, your shift lock, all your basic controls. One of the things I forgot to talk about is the case. And sometimes when you open these cases up, you often get some unexpected surprises. Ah!
Snakes! Why did it have to be snakes?
Yeah, you never really know what you're going to get. But snakes notwithstanding, this is a really nice case. You can see it has a nice pouch. We have the original manual, the original receipt, original cleaning gear, non-original snake. Kevin, can you take that snake out of there for me?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll just take this off. But in any case, the case comes apart, and that's easy enough. And when we move our friendly snake here, we'll see that it has a bottom portion. This bottom portion is thin and stiff and it has these wonderful pegs. And you can see even ours, it still has flat little bumpers. This is a great portable desk, if you will, for this machine. And it's one of the nice little features that they include. It clips under this little metal tab. And normally you would leave your typewriter attached to these pegs all the time. There really is no need to take it off. We just did it for the sake of the demo. But that's a real nice feature. And we have an Erika 41, which is a wide carriage Erika model that came out before this one. And it has a similar very nice case with a red interior lining. The levers that control this just swing open and closed, and all in all it's just a really nice case, especially when you consider Smith Corona at this time was using the kind of gross brown plastic cases, and the Erika models, Robotron models, continued on with a much nicer case, but hopefully without snakes. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Alright, let's take a look at it. So this has a pica typeface, very crisp and clear, and that's how I would describe the touch. The touch on this machine is really wonderful. It seems strange. It's almost the way I describe it. It's like it doesn't look substantial and it doesn't feel substantial necessarily, but it has a strength or a solidness that belies its very lightweight stature. I don't know if that makes any sense. What I think of is the aluminum tent poles in some high-tech tents. They don't look very big, but they can withstand a very strong hurricane-like force when you're camping, and that always happens when you're camping with the Cub Scouts. But in essence, I would simply say this touch on this Erika rivals anything that Olympia was putting out at the same time. And I would put this machine up against the likes of the SM9, certainly from the contemporaneous period in the late 70s. So this is a 78 model. And it's kind of neat to think that this machine was made all the way through the end of the typewriter production in Eastern Germany. It ran from 77 to 1991 when they shut the factories down. So there were 1 or 2 models produced after this that are even more curvy, but I just really, really like this, and we stumbled across this on German eBay and just had to have it. So let's go over some of the pros and cons.
Well, it is a really high quality German construction, rivaling Olympia.
Yeah, we just covered that point. So just an awesome build quality despite being made of plastic. And what's another one?
It has an awesome vibrant orange.
That's right. Let's zoom out and soak in some of that glorious orangeness. It really reminds me of the Adler Contessa, but I would rank this a number of notches higher in terms of touch and feel than the Contessa, which I also really like. What's next?
Well, it's really solid, like with that plastic and stuff, but light and snappy.
Yeah, snappy. I left the C off by mistake, but trying to get my German pun in there. So it does have a light, snappy touch. It's really fun and wonderful to type on. And I'm not the greatest typist, so you're always getting a distorted view. But for a beginner or maybe a real pro, it just types really well. What's next, Kevin?
Well, the next one is, it's pretty uncommon. You can't really find it like in a common thrift store upon one look.
That's right. Maybe in Fredericksburg, Texas, you'll find a bunch of East German typewriters laying around, but maybe not. It's not super uncommon. These were one of the most common East German exports, but it's not your run-of-the-mill Smith Corona or Royal. What else do we have, Kevin?
Well, it's the Cold War intrigue and artifact.
Yeah, exactly. Cold War intrigue. So let's watch The Third Man of Orson Welles or something while we're typing a letter. All of that Cold War history, which was lived history for me and is non-distant history for my kids, I don't know, it just really appeals to me and maybe to you too as well. All right, so some of the cons, I'll handle that. The QWERTZ. So QWERTZ can trip up the uninitiated. If you're switching back and forth between 10 or 20 different typewriters, as we often do, yeah, you can get tricked up by, lazy dog can go backwards, right? And fortunately, unbelievably, I didn't mess that up on our sentence. But it's easy enough to get used to that if you're just using one machine. And there are workarounds for almost every character. You get a bunch of extra bonus characters on the German type, but you don't really lose many, if any. So very easy to get used to. And that's pretty much all I would say. It's just a wonderful machine. It's a little bit different. It follows in the tradition of the fantastic Seidel and Naumann. I'm not comparing it to those glorious machines from the 1930s and 40s even. But it really is an icon of its era. I think it's a really pretty machine, and it's a wonderful thing to have in your collection. Thanks so much for joining us, and let's continue on our ride on the Magic School Bus.
Please like, subscribe, and share.